everyone. Welcome to Denman's Den. I'm Kathy Denman. My normal focus in these broadcasts, as those of you who have been listening to me know, has been in the political realm because that has so impacted our lives as Americans that I've been feeling compelled to explore, investigate, and come as close as I can to speaking truth to power in these dark days for the United States of America. However, today's reflection will focus on something a little bit different. It does apply directly to the political realm, but it also applies to each of us personally. It emerges out of my work as a counselor, as a therapist, and as a chaplain. This reflection is called peace. What is it? And how do we find it and keep it? So, allow me to begin with a question. And I'm going to give you some moments of quiet after I ask the question for you to kind of think about and reflect on what your answer might be. So here is the question. How do you define peace? Most of us define peace as the absence of conflict. Others of us believe it means the absence of pain and suffering. Some believe it is the absence of chaos and the presence of order. If you answered in any of these ways, well, you're in good company. You're among the majority of humanity. But what if I were to present a different definition of peace and some evidence for it? Would you be open to rethinking what peace is if a new definition would help you to keep and maintain it in your life? If you have struggled with having peace of mind and heart, if being at peace seems to have evaded you and your life experience, then keep listening. And maybe, perhaps, this reflection might help to increase your awareness and maybe even lead you onto the path to peace in your mind, your heart, and in your life in general. Rather than give you a dictionary type of definition, I'm going to just outline some characteristics of peace that I have discovered personally and professionally, and also through continued research and study. So, number one, peace does not come from outside of us. Peace is built within us. We build it with our values, our principles, our moral clarity, our strong and reasonable faith, and our discipline of thought. What our minds dwell upon shapes who we are and who we are becoming. If we are constantly feeding our minds on outrage and anger, then we become angry, outraged people. If we are constantly listening to and participating in gossip, we become judgmental, arrogant, and manipulative in relationships. If we are constantly worried and anxious about people, situations, events, money, then we will become apprehensive, edgy, and distressed. And we will communicate that to others in our circle of relationships and probably die young of a stress related illness. If we dwell on being kind and compassionate, then we will become people who are kind and compassionate. If we focus our thoughts on joy, even when outwardly things don't appear joyful, we will be joyful, even in the midst of pain and sorrow. Now, when I said we build peace inside of us, I meant that as we grow and develop our values, principles, moral clarity, strong reasonable faith, and disciplined thought, we are hopefully utilizing all of those things to build what I think of as a stronghold. Not to escape from life, but where the storms of life cannot steal the calm. In this stronghold within us, our calm rests on our values, moral clarity, faith, and disciplined thought. The stormy waves of worry, anger, sadness, and sorrow certainly can be heard outside, but inside of us, if we have built that stronghold of peace, no storm of life can topple us, and no massive waves of painful emotion can overtake us. Number 2, peace happens in responding to life, not in reacting to it. Again, just like with peace, most of our problems don't come from the outside world. They come as a result of how we react to the world and whatever problems it presents. The American Psychological Association has indicated that statistically, 90% of human decision making is driven not by reason, but by emotion. And those emotionally driven decisions are the reason we react to life instead of responding to it. Okay, you might be asking at this point, what is the difference between reacting and responding? Well, that is a great question. And I want you to think a bit about the answer in yourself. Let us say that someone says something that you experience as hurtful and insulting. When you react, what do you say or do? When you respond, what would that look like? What would you say or do? When I react, I usually just say something immediately out of my feelings of being hurt or offended. Or I do something immediately, like, I don't know, slam a door or throw something. I don't pause and take a moment to consider my words or my actions. There is no peace in reactions, whether they are verbal or acted out. When I respond, I stop. I quiet myself. And I take what I call a sacred pause. Maybe I will take a couple of calming breaths or Maybe I will count to 5, or maybe I'll do both. In those moments, it may dawn on me that the other person may be in some pain for some reason, and I may then ask them what is going on with them, or some other question that may help them to reflect on what they just said and give me more time to draw from my inner stronghold of peace in order not to get hooked into a painful conflict or a toxic situation. Simply put, reacting is immediate and impulsive and often loud. Responding is quiet, takes time to pause and calm, and is thoughtful and non-defensive. Number 3, peace happens when we can identify what we are feeling, why we are feeling it, and what it tells us about ourselves. If we remain ignorant of our feelings and the what and why of them, they will control us and our thoughts and actions. And we will never know real peace. Think of your feelings as doors with long, full-size mirrors on them. You look in the mirror, see things about yourself that need adjusting. You make those adjustments and then open the door to growth and thus more peace building within yourself. Let us move to some examples. Someone has insulted you. You recognize that you are feeling hurt. Now, take a moment and look in the mirror. It is not the insult that hurts, but the story you tell yourself about the insult that is bringing on the hurt. Let's take another example. You recognize that you are furiously angry at a family member who has betrayed you. All you can think about is the wrong they did you. And perhaps you're even thinking about some retaliation for the terrible betrayal. Then you look in that mirror and see yourself consumed with anger on a daily basis. It is not the betrayal that angers you. It is the story you tell yourself about the betrayal that has consumed your life with anger. Perhaps you may see in that mirror that pride still rules you, and it will take courage to make those adjustments and walk through that door into the changes to yourself that will continue building peace in you. Let's say that you have been rejected by a friend or even a family member, and you identify that you feel destroyed and deeply depressed. It is not the rejection that has destroyed you, but the story you tell yourself about the rejection that is bringing on the depression and feelings of being destroyed. Your look in the mirror tells you that your sense of worth is too fragile and too much based on outward approval. Do you have the courage to make those adjustments and open the door to changes that can build your stronghold of peace? One last example. You've been sitting in traffic, and the signal light has changed twice, and you are still too far to make it through the light when it changes again. You identify your feelings of frustration, irritation, and restlessness. Again, it is not the waiting, but the story you tell yourself about the waiting that has you irritated, frustrated, and restless. Your look in the mirror tells you that patience has not yet been cultivated in your life. Will you finally make those adjustments and dare to open the door to building more peace in your life? Your feelings are not your enemies. They are mirrors to show you yourself and the adjustments that you need to make to build and maintain your inner stronghold of peace. Number 4. Peace happens through redirecting the flow of energy that our feelings produce. When most people think of what makes a person strong, they imagine resistance, fighting back, pushing harder, meeting force with equal or greater force. Truthfully, real strength is not always found in resistance, fighting back, or meeting force with force. Sometimes true strength is found in redirecting the flow or the process that is already present. For example, when a car you are driving skids, you don't resist. You turn in the direction of the skid, and in so doing, use the energy of the car skidding to bring the car to a stop. If you're swimming in a river with a current, fighting back when the current catches you will cost you your life. Instead, you stay still and allow the current to carry you. And you will stay afloat until you can grab something or are carried close enough to the shore. And speaking of water, that is the clearest, most vibrant example of redirecting the flow of energy. Where I grew up in Northern California, there were many rivers. We used to swim and go rafting in them. Most of them were very rocky because of their location in the foothills and mountains of the Sierra Nevada. Interestingly enough, I noted even as a child, the water did not resist the rocks, but flowed around them on its way down into the San Joaquin Valley. After some time flowing around those rocks, the water wears them down into interesting shapes and sizes. And sometimes they were worn down to where we could walk across the river on them, a useful and fun bridge to explore the other side of the river. And so it is with redirecting emotional energy. Anger, fear, sadness, depression, these are not enemies to be crushed or monsters to be vanquished or avoided altogether. They're forces that are a part of life and can be directed into transformative energy. Think of anger left unchecked. It destroys relationships, poisons judgment, and burns the soul from within. But anger redirected and transformed can become courage. It can become determination to bring about justice or persistence to achieve a worthy goal. Fear often keeps us avoiding action or taking action, and sometimes it paralyzes us completely. But fear, redirected and transformed, becomes preparation, readiness, alertness, a sharpening of the senses. Sadness, transformed, can become compassion and comfort for the grieving and sorrowful. Depression can transform into empathy, encouragement, and insight into the pain of others. Number 5, peace happens in rising up stronger from every fall, every obstacle, and every loss. I recently watched some of the Harry Potter movies again. I often do that around this time of the year, Halloween and after. And I was particularly struck in watching them this time by Professor Dumbledore's phoenix named Fawkes, not F-O-X, F-A-W-K-E-S. Harry happened to walk into Professor Dumbledore's office on a burning day when Fawkes exploded into flames and only a pile of ashes was left on the table. And then, as Dumbledore was explaining to Harry about the phoenix and that phoenix ashes are reborn into a new phoenix, and that phoenix tears have healing power, Fawkes came back to life from the ashes. And I noted something that I hadn't noted before in watching the movies, that Fawkes was even bigger and stronger than he was before his burning. That is what I am talking about. Not being burned out and burned up by life, not being broken by life. We are all broken and continue to be broken by life. It is what we choose to do after we are broken that either destroys the possibility of peace or builds it in us even more strongly. Peace is not really the absence of conflict, pain, suffering, or chaos. Peace actually needs those in order to exist, because peace is, after all, built in the midst of all those things, and is our sustenance when life becomes broken and full of chaos, conflict, pain, and suffering. If we are exhausted by life's obstacles, it is because we have handed over our peace to others and allowed ourselves to be emotionally hijacked by people and circumstances in our lives. Think of it this way. The obstacle is not the end of the road. It is the road. How are you traveling that road today? Remembering that 1, peace is built within us. 2, peace happens in responding to life, not reacting to it. 3, peace happens when we can identify what we are feeling, why we are feeling it, and what it tells us about ourselves. 4, peace happens through redirecting the flow of energy that our feelings produce. And 5, peace happens in rising up stronger from every fall, every obstacle, every loss. Remembering those 5, may peace be with you and built up in you always. Thanks for joining me today on Denman's Den. I will see you again next time. Take care.